attend the Zoom meeting for various reasons. And then it's just a refresher for those of you that were on our Zoom meeting, but maybe you just wanted to go back and kind of understand some of the things that I was requesting of our students for this first semester, especially as we gather here in hybrid functionality. So I wanted to let the students know that the expectations for the course. Of course, we have 2 really big assignments, not to mention some of the smaller ones, but the big ones that I talked about today were that podcast, and it starts with that research paper to find out what type of podcast do you like, what were the good things about that podcast, what were things that you didn't like so much about that podcast, and how can you sort of model your ideas off the podcasts that you like to listen to. If you like to listen to them, then of course most people will like to listen to them, right? The other thing that I wanted to talk about today with the podcast is not only will you look at the research out there and then answer the questions that I've posed on the assignment for the research paper, but then come up with your own idea, about 10 to 15 minutes long. And as I said in class earlier, there is just a plethora of ways that you can create your own podcast. It can be you interviewing, it can be a production, it can be a how-to video, it can be informative, it can be entertaining. So I will have podcasts for you to listen to that students have done in the past. And it just gives you an idea of the ideas that can be done and done well. Once you get the podcast idea and now you know where you want to go with this podcast, then you'll create an intro and an outro for that. About 10 to 15 seconds. Is how long the intro is. The outro is around the same. But we use this to sort of, we talk about the title in the intro, talk about what is this show about, and it really adds some cool production value to that. Some of the students were curious about Firstcom. I think most people have used Firstcom, but since we were cut short last semester, just in case you aren't familiar with Firstcom, here is the website for that. Now I'm not logged in, but you can log in with the information that I sent you, and you log in. And the coolest thing about this is that UNO pays to license this music and the sound effects. So we pay for this. You can't use it to sell your own products, but we can use it for class purposes. And I think it really opens up this amazing opportunity to tell really great stories. So we can look under, if we just go under new releases, you can see that there are examples of any type of background music that you could possibly wish for. And I think if you hearken back to Radio 1, you remember that music and background sounds is really important to your message. So let's say I want to do a holiday special promo. Let's go under holiday. I type that in and boom, we have all kinds of different music for the sound that we might want to produce. Let's listen to You'll Be in My Heart. Not the best example in the world. Usually we want music without lyrics. You should be able to, though. Go into that, You'll Be in My Heart, and see, there's the downloads, there's vocals, instrumental, different versions of the instrumental. So if we wanted to play that, because typically we don't want words in audio beds, so there's the instrumental for that. So that's a lovely holiday feel, is it not? Now, I am downloading these. You do need to log in, and that's that Gmail address I sent you along with the password. Another really cool component to Firstcom is, let's take a look up here, and we want to go for sound effects. So I did that production of Telltale Heart last year. So the production, I could really expand my sound with the sound effects that were provided from Firstcom. Now that doesn't mean that was the only sound effect I used. Sometimes I couldn't find exactly what I wanted to use, so I just created my own, which is always an option. But if we want to do horses galloping, you type that bad boy in, and here we go. We have all these different variations of what a horse might sound like galloping. So that's at a sports track. I really don't want a horse at a sports track. I want a horse outside of maybe a lake. Oh, horses, feet in water, river mud. So you simply download that and then drag it over onto your hard drive or your desktop, wherever you want to manage your files. That's totally cool with me because it's your home. If it's done in our lab, then of course you want to make sure you put them on your hard drive so you can take those with you when you leave. So that's Firstcom. It has music, like I said, for almost anything that you could want. Another really cool thing is drone. I always encourage students to use drone sounds. And no, I'm not necessarily talking about the drones that fly over stadiums to get these really cool shots. I'm talking about these sort of synthetic sounds called drones. And a lot of them do sound kind of like a horror show, but they don't always have to. But it really gives that presence of depth to your production. So let's just take a listen to this drone. Wow, that's pretty creepy, huh? Couldn't you use that for one of your productions for, let's say, a PSA for Haunted Heartland? Definitely. It's definitely going to take that audience and really immerse them into, wow, this sounds like it's going to be kind of a creepy little message. Here's mysterious air. Another one, sometimes it can sound like space. So it can really put you out into outer space. Love that. So oftentimes when I do my production, I have my voice track, and then I have maybe a music bed or several sound effects for another track. And then I almost always use some kind of drone. And even if it's very so slight underneath, it just helps really create the sound envelope for your message. So I love the drones. And that again is on Firstcom, and every student has access to Firstcom. And like I said, I gave you the email and also the password, so you can go ahead and access that. Have fun with it because it's a blast. So to get back to the podcast, that's where you'll access your information and your sounds that you want to use in your intro and your outro. Again, I will provide examples for you to listen to. We're not going to listen to them on this video because it's already long enough the way it is. So that's the podcast. Next thing, let's go back to assignments. And I want to talk a little bit about, we can just go to Haunted Heartland story pitch. Because again, the podcast and the Haunted Heartland story are two of the major projects that we do in this class. So for those of you that were in that first Zoom meeting, you heard the expectations for the Haunted Heartland story. For those of you, again, who want to, who didn't hear it, or who maybe want, again, another overview of what I was talking about, this story will be around 3 to 5 minutes. And it's a story that you on your own. We'll talk about it and we'll say, is this going to be really something that's going to be interesting to the audience? And also another thing that's really cool about it is, let's say you want to do a story on Ouija board sales. Is Ouija board, or is that is that just a game, or is it something really in the occult? One of my students, when she did a story on that years ago, we talked about it in class. One of the students, the other student's father was a pastor. The father was more than happy to talk about Ouija boards and his opinion on them. That's the really neat thing about having this sort of newsroom and being able to meet, even if it's via Zoom. We can use sources from each other. We can give each other great ideas for this Haunted Heartland story. So think about it. What's going to fill up about 5 minutes? If you choose to do a haunted house or a story on Valas, which of course, since I've talked about these, maybe you want to consider something else. But Valas, who would you talk to? What kind of natural sound would you include? Where could you add some more research? Because certainly you want to do research on your own. We want to know how many people go through Valas every year. What's the price to go through Valas? We don't want to make it a commercial, that's for sure. But let's talk about its impact on our community. Same thing with any type of story that you want to do, if there's historical pieces to it, or if it's a haunted house or a supposed haunted bar. Those are, all the same elements are there, but you get to decide the story and the focus that you want to take. And I will say that I've had amazing stories come out of this assignment, and it is always so much fun. And when you get to hear how well everything goes together, I think you'll be really impressed and really happy that you were able to take part in this assignment, especially with your classmates that are so wonderful. So for now, I have those. I've covered the podcast, and I've also covered Haunted Heartland. Those are things I want you to start thinking about right now. The other thing is, again, a friendly reminder that we will not do producing because we have no sports to produce. And the on-air shifts will be 1 hour. You can do 2 if you want, but you only will be required to do an hour. Again, the reason why I find that so important is because I feel like radio is our constant right now. It's the one thing that we can depend on and have depended on since the 1920s for our news, information, entertainment, all of that. It's right in a free receiver. And I think for our students and for MAV Radio and for all of us to continue to move forward, it is really important that we show our community that our voices are more important than ever. So that's my passion. That is the reason why I think it is important that we maintain our presence on the radio as well as our podcast, which we'll be doing via the podcast assignment as well as Haunted Heartland. I also podcast that. If there's anything else you're interested in podcasting above and beyond, let me know. I am more than happy to help you out. That would be wonderful. Trying to think of anything else that would be of importance right now, this very first week. I'm sure students are overwhelmed with all the changes that are going on, and I just want you to know that I'm here for you, and I'm here to help you navigate these uncertain times. And sometimes I'm going to make mistakes, as we saw with the timing. Our class meets from 10 to 11:15, Tuesday, Thursday. And like I said before, we will Zoom when necessary. Perhaps there's a time when I just video record a lecture, or perhaps we just meet in person, individually or in small groups. Just keep this time open as much as possible for our meetings and to make this a successful class for everybody. I will leave you with this. I know, again, our semester was cut short, and it was cut short abruptly, and now we've had time to prepare. So if you do need some refreshing on Adobe Audition, use of the Whisper Room, or Next Gen, please let me know and I'll be available for students that need any extra help. And I say that because I've already had people request it. So you're not the only one who may not remember how to go on the air or how to save your file from Adobe Audition, but we will make it work and we will make this semester amazing. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I'm here to help, and I'm here to contribute to your success and your love of learning. Bye.